actual real, tweets from a bird. Okay.
Not too many animals, man.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, guys, we are live. Welcome back to another Plasticast. I'm Plasticon, joined here by Sideburn
What's up?
and Megamus. I think he went AFK again. That's okay.
Can't get these stupid controls to work. I hit the button and it didn't work.
That's how it usually goes. Don is away messing with real life, beast formers. So, and since Sideburn here is done getting his ducks in a row, we're going to talk about this 86 Megatron that everybody is hooting and hollering about. Brett, have you gotten a chance to look at this thing yet?
I saw the pictures.
Okay. Yeah.
And then some of it looks pretty neat. I think, I don't know, are all those pictures that you send, are those official
Yes.
configurations?
Yeah, they're official.
Like the crab looking?
Yeah. Oh, that I think was just.
I thought
That was maybe.
going on.
I think that was maybe just to show it, like
Partially
it's
transforming.
how it kind of splits apart to transform.
Yeah, so
I don't think that was a mode.
I'm bringing up my share screen here so that way people can see exactly what we are talking about. This is him in robot mode. Quite frankly, I can't complain about what this looks like at all. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think of this thing?
I'm going to say that I think they made the right call, and they favored the robot mode over the tank mode. Because the tank mode to me really looks like the afterthought of the toy, but yeah, I'll let Megamus get into his thoughts and then come back to me.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of the tank mode. I'm not a fan of Tank Megatron. And I think it's just really goofy that they decided to take the pistol barrel and just stick it on the end of the scope and make that, his turret. I mean, the ingenuity on it looks okay. I mean, it is a passable tank. And then if you look at the robot mode, it is a very good looking robot mode. Even if, I don't know if do you have pictures of the back? Because the back had like leg fillers and everything.
Yeah, here's pictures of the back for y'all.
I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, you're not going to get 100%, cartoon look, and then have a tank when he's not supposed to be a tank. This configuration was for, Walker P-38. So that's why you see the treads on the back. There's gives and takes. But overall, I think it's okay. My understanding is the posability is very, very close to what they would consider to be masterpiece articulation. So I'm okay with that. The little details that they did with it, in my opinion, I never did like Megatron to have those grayish blue legs. I think they should be darker, but that's just me.
Yeah, there's been a lot of contention about that. I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, this. It looks weird, and I don't necessarily. It's not so much that they did the two-tone. I mean, the two-tone is accurate. It's animation accurate, right? At least in the movie. But I feel like the colors of the cannon and his waist are like the wrong shade, and the contrasting gray part of his leg is the wrong shade. And I think that's kind of what is throwing me for a loop on the, at least when it comes to that that difference in coloration.
Now, see, I look at this, and I think the cannon looks fine. I mean, I would rather it be dark black, like the G1 toy, but that's fine, you know. And you even look at the arms, and except for up at the shoulders and the armpits, there's very little hollowing. You know, that's pretty good. Even down at the you can barely see the thigh there, but there's not a lot of hollowing there either. That's more for the connection where the friction joint pops the leg in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of be like that.
Yeah,
And I think
I agree with that completely. With the fillers, it actually looks, I'd say, more complete.
yeah.
You know,
See, I think for me, for the when I was talking about the color, I just feel like maybe if it was a more of a black than like this kind of bronze look that it has, but
I'd be okay with that. But what gets me is those lower legs. They just don't.
yeah, if it was a different shade of gray, if it wasn't like, it's like a blue gray. I guess it's supposed to be like a gunmetal, but
I don't know. I'm looking around the room at all my Megatrons, and I don't see any of them that have those legs. You know,
not
they're
shade.
all black. They're
Yeah,
either
no,
all black
it's
or, you know, similar.
yeah, because I think if we I've seen side by sides by the animation model that is pretty close. It's just it's definitely more blue than it is gray. The animation model is clearly just a darker color of gray.
Right.
And this one just has a lot of that blue coloration coming out, and it could be a lighting thing, but I feel like this is a pretty well lit picture.
Well, and the sides, and the front, and the back, they all look the same color.
Yeah.
So even differences in lighting's not changing.
But I do think they did a good job because on the sides of the leg there is like detail that basically matches what it looks like in the animation model, where the black, instead of it being the handle of the gun, the treads are forming it, but like the black that is formed by the gun handle, and then the gray part that's in front of it, yeah. Because I've seen you know, like this detail down there towards the ankles, that's the same color as the front.
Yes.
That is like, even that is on the animation model. So I mean, they put a lot of effort into the robot mode to achieve a animation model Megatron that still turns into something that is acceptable by today's toy safety standards, right? But
I mean, to be honest, in my opinion, I really don't mind the colors. I personally think maybe that blue should have been maybe a little, I wouldn't even say like darker. I'd say it needs to go a little lighter, to be honest. I don't know. Like, it could have been maybe, I don't know, maybe like a silver instead. I think if they probably would have went with a silver, it probably would have looked better.
Well, then it would blend right into the treads on the back.
Right. And
that would mesh too much.
yeah, maybe like on the lighter side of silver, but like with the tank mode, I mean, yeah, he does have the silver in the tank, so, but I know a lot of people don't like this tank mode. Personally, I think this is probably the better looking Megatron tank mode that we've gotten in a while. Like, considering we're all exhausted from that old mold, you know, and since we have to have him as a tank now, I'll be honest with you. This would be the ugliest G2 Megatron made. Because the robot mode would not work if they decided to repaint it as G2. Because you know that's inevitably probably going to happen, considering these.
Right, two different forms.
I'm wondering if they're going to, like, I'm not sure so much about G2, but I'm wondering if they're going to use it for, like, Devastation, though it would be kind of big, because the Devastation Optimus Prime is, like, one of the smallest Optimus Primes, but I was kind of trying to think of what they would reuse this for. I did post a comparison picture just in the general text channel that has the sort of the cartoon model next to the SS or the 86 figure, but
okay. Yeah,
so you can kind of see some of the what I was talking about with the leg details that they got in there on the sides of his legs and stuff. But
yeah, now I actually look at it, if it would have just been like the hue just needs to be a little darker, more on the black side, maybe not so metallic.
And now that I'm looking at it, it's almost like that gray that they used on the shins should be the color of his waist. And then his shin should be a lighter gray. But yeah, I mean it's a little off, but it's not wholly unimpressive. Like a lot of people, yeah,
good job.
I mean, at least they did put the little red detail on his arm cannon too.
Well, they did it on the sides of his waist.
Mm-hmm.
They got the abdomen looks right. I mean, let's face it. He turns into a tank. They didn't even need to do the extra barrel just so you could plug it on over his shoulder in robot mode.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need to do that. I'm going to give him credit. It's pretty good. I'm just not a fan of the tank.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, nobody's gonna be a fan of the tank. I mean, especially when it does something like this.
Oh gosh, that's I didn't even realize it turned that way. But
yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I said, it's a good thing they focused on the robot mode. Mm-hmm. I think because the first attempt at this was in what was it Titan? Matt, was it the Titan's Return that they released that tank Megatron? That was very G1 like, or was that in Power of the Primes? There was that leader class tank Megatron that had a lot of G1 detail. And
are you talking about the one that turned into that kind of triple changed?
No, it turned into a tank.
Okay.
So I think it was Titan. I think it was Titan Returns, or Titan's Return. It was a really shiny silver Megatron, and it had like rubber treads and stuff. Like,
oh, that was Combiner Wars.
Was that all the way back in Combiner Wars?
That was the Combiner Wars one, yeah.
So to me, that was kind of like the first attempt at G1 style tank Megatron. And it leaned really hard into having a really nice tank mode. And then there's also the the Earthrise Megatron, which they remolded to death. But this right here, I think is like, to do it right, they had to sacrifice the tank mode, and I think that was definitely the right decision to make because that tank mode is awful. It's just really bad. But
let's be honest.
It makes him a transformer. That's what it's there for, is to make him a transformer.
But I mean, to be honest, how many people really are going to be putting this thing in its alt mode? Most people aren't going to leave this in robot mode.
Yeah, it's a throwaway.
I mean, especially when the well, I mean, this is kind of a picture of the mid transformation.
Yeah.
It looks kind of like a crab, like Brett was saying. Um,
He has so many. I mean, he does seem to have quite a few panels, in that they fold up. You know, he doesn't look panelly in robot mode, which a little bit in the legs. You can see some of the panels in the legs, but it's really not too off the wall. And then there was a picture with Optimus, right?
Yeah.
Did they add a lot of? I assume they added like a lot of that like robot detail to Optimus, like they did with Megatron. I guess. I mean, yeah. So he has a lot of that sort of like detailing that I like to add to him.
mhm.
Um, and see, I think some of that just kind of throws off the look of it. You know, the old G1 models in the show are very flat. Um, but you know, I don't think you can quite get away with making flat-looking toys. But I almost think it would look better if it was. Like I think some of the details in those legs also is kind of what throws off kind of the look of those legs.
I mean, the inner like the inner legs. I personally think, you know, like the lower leg, that could have had like the detail like the original toy, but the outside of it kind of just, it could have went just with smooth detail, would have made it look better. But I mean, to be honest, for them to put something like this that looks pretty decent, that's going to be, you know, a retail figure, I really can't complain too much. I mean, yeah, the tank mode isn't the best. I am pro tank Megatron though, but I'm biased because I like G2. But the thing is, I just don't see this as G2 Megatron if they ever do that. It just ain't gonna work. The chest isn't gonna work. Not even close.
Yeah, I would be really surprised. I think this is going to be one of those that kind of just stays in its line. You know, they'll probably re-release him and Optimus a billion times as him and Optimus. But I no more see them using the 86 Optimus Prime in other lines any more than I do see them using the Megatron.
I mean, do you think maybe? And I think Brett remembers this. Remember the what was the farewell Megatron set they had, where they had Megatron and Optimus were both together, like in a Japanese box set. Do you think maybe they may end up doing something like that one day with these, but maybe omit the trailer for Optimus in order to make like a versus pack or something?
I mean, they could always do a versus pack. That's always been popular. You know, absolutely.
I think a versus pack would be amazing.
I'm really trying to find this one panel. There it is. Now, let's see if I'm able to screen share. Where is that picture? Alright, let's see if I can get this.
By the way, Jason, our viewing area seems to have gotten really small
Yeah,
on
what the heck's up with
the live stream.
my,
I was just letting you
I
know.
don't know why it's done that. Let me.
Well, we're also, I mean, we're lagging bad.
Are we lagging?
Hang on, let me see. There it goes.
I didn't realize we were lagging.
We weren't. Let's see. So how do I?
Yeah, I'm gonna lead us into a different discussion about Megatron. While Brett's pulling it up, but
I'm trying to get to put it on the other screen.
I have a question for you guys, because you know this is Megatron goes through alt modes like no other. Like Optimus stays a truck consistently. The wildest change he's ever been was a fire truck. You know, But Megatron keeps going through different changes, and I'm wondering, do you think that with this, Hasbro might officially settle on Megatron's a tank, or do you think we'll still keep seeing them sort of swap around with different things? I'm personally, not gonna lie, I'm personally a fan of Osprey Megatron. I really liked animated Megatron. I think his design and the most recent Transformers, cartoon, it was also sort of an Osprey. I thought that it worked pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So I've sort of leaned that way in my preferred Megatron alt mode, but do we think that Hasbro might finally just put their foot down once for all and say Megatron's a tank?
Go ahead, Brett.
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, the problem is what they're allowed to do nowadays, and that limits what they can do. What do you want him? You want him to be a little space laser?
Space cannon.
No. Remember, it's a submarine. Because look at Shockwave and look at Six Shot. They're always a submarine. Everybody knows it's an upside down.
Yeah, I forgot.
Pew, pew.
I forgot Shockwave was turned into a submarine.
Or a spaceship.
Yeah, because I really asked. Because I mean, to me, when I think about most of the Decepticons, especially Season 1 Decepticons, I think of a lot of flyers. And Megatron was always an oddball, right? He turns into a gun. And we know why he turned into a gun. It was the mold that they had. They turned him into, they used what they had and they made the bad guy a gun. But when you think about the Decepticons, you think about the Seekers, you think about a lot of flyers. And then to me, it just always seems like, when you see him get like these flying modes, kind of just seems to fit the theme of a lot of the Decepticons. A lot of the Decepticons fly, where a lot of the Autobots were sort of ground vehicles. And obviously, the Combaticons came in later, so him being a tank also fits in with Combaticons and stuff like that. But I always think of Megatron, I think of sort of your basic 84 cast with Seekers, Shockwave, and Soundwave, right? And Laserbeak and Buzzsaw, and it was very heavily flyer skewed.
I mean, yeah, I'm one of these kind of people. I always thought it was kind of weird that Megatron flew, Soundwave flew, but remember the very first episode? All the Autobots could fly, and then all of a sudden they can't. And later on, Optimus Prime needs a jetpack. Like, these guys are robots. Why couldn't they have jets in their feet? So it would make more sense if all of them did that. I just always thought it was weird that they was like, oh, well, it's the only way we can have Megatron and Soundwave take off with everybody else. You can't have them just jump in the cockpit of, like, Skywarp and Thundercracker or something like that and fly off in them. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah. You don't know why they did that. I mean,
Yeah.
robots did.
Yeah, like,
They all flew.
I've never understood that.
It became pretty much canon to Transformers lore that Decepticons could fly and Autobots can't. Like, it was something even that even Transformers animated used that as a thing, and
it was
it was like forbidden tech. Like, Decepticons could fly, and that was
if you remember the episode where they were talking about backstory of Prime, backstory of Megatron, and all that. And that was one of the things that Orion Pax was like in awe of. He saw how cool they were. And one of the things he said is, like, man, they can fly. Meaning that he couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, yeah, the very first episode, Optimus Prime and Prowl, they were flying around, and then they kind of changed it, and kind of took, they just redid it. But let's remember, those cartoons, there was no continuity. There was nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always fun to try to give continuity to it, but usually at the end of the day, you just have to concede.
Yeah, it's
Let's not read too much into it.
Right. I mean, come on, you got like Bruticus and Predaking. Well, I mean, Predaking makes sense because he's got wings. We got like, Bruticus that can fly, Menosaur that can fly. Like, what? and I mean, I see where they were going with some of that stuff, but I mean, when it comes to the 86 Megatron, to me, it's cool looking in robot mode. They nailed that robot mode because that's what everybody wanted. But the fact of the matter is, we won't ever get a Walter P-38 again. We just won't. Like, guys, stop asking for it. Ain't gonna happen.
However,
unless you're in Japan.
There is something that we can get. Alright? And it might just take a nice little upgrade kit. I'm not talking the flying plane thing I did before, whatever, the flying tank. Let's see here. I'm going to put it in our chat in the Facebook, and then if you could share this image.
Oh, of course.
Let's see if I can find it here.
Yeah, I hope they.
Yeah, I cannot screen share. I guess my computer's so outdated it will not do it.
Okay. Well,
Here's the first image I want you to post.
Okay.
And then after you stop laughing.
Oh my God. So we got this abomination.
Alright, and you're like, why? Why would they make that? Well, there was in a comic. There it is. I just sent it.
No.
And it just so happens that Starscream's gun looks a lot like that. It even has the little treads underneath it. If you show that picture.
Well, there it is. There it is. Treads underneath.
It's there.
This is a G1 comic, guys. G1. This is canon.
That's I think that's the
No, this is
G.I. Joe or G.I. Joe Transformers.
Oh, okay. Okay, it would make sense then, because Megatron was turned into a tank. In that
He was. I think
G2
it might be IDW.
it's just not the.
This is Transformers number 14. The newer ones, I think.
Is the Skybound? The Skybound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
There it is. There's the treads.
I would not.
Right there.
I would not put it past
There.
the kit companies making this.
They can't make the fillers because they're already filled in, so they got to come up with something. So there you go. There's your pew pew.
I mean, the only thing I could think of that they could do, that they wanted to completely change this thing into one, they would literally probably have to replace the legs. Which a lot of people complaining about the legs. But if you look at the legs are literally just kind of screwed in on the sides.
You're talking about for a third-party company to make a kit.
But you can see them doing that. I've seen
it. They can do just about anything. So I mean, if there's a will, there's a way they'll make it. But I saw that. Oh, that's funny.
No, that is funny. That's what I want to see. Like I'm more entertained by this.
I mean, I'm sad that they didn't go with my. Yeah. I'm sad that they didn't go with my recommendation for Studio Series 86 Megatron, where I wanted Megatron to transform into Starscream holding Megatron.
There you go. That'd be perfect.
But I mean, so apparently this Megatron does come with a little gun Megatron
he sure
accessory.
Does. And this is Optimus Prime holding it.
So that's about all we'll ever get is Megatron as an accessory.
In that configuration, yeah.
Unless Sakari releases, something. But that I feel like those that are getting even harder to import. I mean, I didn't have a problem when the Masterpiece released, but
No, I didn't either. But going back a little further than that, and they were still restrictions and everything. But even all the reissues of Megatron, even the e-hobby ones, with the different colors, the black one, the blue-legged one, or Megaplex, however you want to call him, and all that, they made them through just fine. Now, I guess maybe since then, a lot of the regulations have gotten sturdier, because they were talking about that knockoff one that everyone's getting, and it's transformed into a ball and mailed separate than the box. So,
yeah, it seems like it's gotten a lot harder. So,
I mean,
I think
I remember back when they did that kind of a KO-ish reissue of Browning, because they used to have both. I had the red-legged and the blue-legged one. They were all in robot mode, in the foam. That's how they were transported.
Yep.
And personally, I thought it was a clever way of doing it. And if they really wanted to do that, they could have maybe done this, but with the laws we have here in the States,
yeah, I can't remember. Did
trying to get anything imported like this now,
I'm trying to think. Did
it's ridiculous.
MP Megatron come in robot mode? I feel like he did.
Yes.
And they were still opening them up and gluing orange caps to them.
Yes.
I got it from some place that did not glue orange caps to them, but I know a lot of people had, there was in a lot of ways there was no way to get an unopened Megatron back then.
Right.
I mean, I honestly think the last Megatron we got that was a pistol was wasn't it the Legends one? Then we got the tiniest one, that little one, but they had an orange tip on it.
Yeah, they did make a little one.
Which I have.
He could be held by Devastator, couldn't he? Or was that?
No, he's still too big for Devastator.
I'm thinking of Shockwave. I thought he worked like Shockwave did, and could be held by him.
No, that's his legs, which is why they would fold up and make this extremely huge handle for the rest of the piece, should I say.
There's some third-party Devastators out there that would hold it just fine, but Combiner Wars Devastator, I think, would struggle holding it correctly. It definitely wouldn't fit in a G1.
He had on dead hands. I don't think he could hold it. I mean, it's probably well over an inch, about an inch and a half at the top where your hand would hold. So it's just too big.
I'd go get mine, but mine's sitting in my GoBots base, and I want to knock my GoBots base over trying to get him out of there. So he's actually sitting he actually sits in the seat that Cycle sits in Thruster. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, he actually will sit in that seat. It's kind of funny.
I would
remember how old that is.
I would egg you on to go do it, but having things fall inside your display while you're live is like one of the most heartbreaking things. It's like, well, I can't even set everything back up.
The funny thing, like I said, my room I do this is in a different room, but still, I'd have to be gone for a couple minutes, and you hear cussing and stuff like that going on, and we probably
a big crash from another room. Like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do that. I really don't. I don't want to be knocking a bunch of stuff over.
Yeah, I remember a few times in the past, it was like I'd get up and go over to my details and try to fish something out from the back, and you'd hear, I'm like, oh, dang it.
The heck is he moving around? You know. But yeah, like when it comes to the way they've done this Megatron, I personally think it's fine. The tank mode is lacking, but whatever. You know, it's a mode. I mean,
I
to
think they
be
pulled
honest,
off the best they ever would.
what more would anybody want? Like, if you can't actually transform him into the pew pew that he's supposed to turn into, right? Then what else do you do with him? Like, do you just give him a super articulated mode? Then all you're buying at that point is just an action figure. It doesn't transform, and then everybody's like, it doesn't transform because it's not a transformer. What else do you want to turn it into? I mean, a jet would be cool. I personally would like a jet. That'd be neat.
I want them to be turned into the spaceship Yamato.
Actually,
I think the big thing that everyone's gonna have a problem with is that it's Studio Series 86, which means it's supposed to do everything that you saw back in 1986, and that's not. He was not a tank. Well, for those people, and trust me, I don't like it either. You're gonna have to get over it. He has been a tank probably just as long as he was the other.
Yeah.
Point.
And I would say
for almost 20 years.
I would say it is the absolute best compromise they could have made. Because they really didn't sacrifice his robot mode to make him a tank.
No, I think this one absolutely. You know, it would have been nice to have the other, but this, I think they did a good job. They did a really good job on the robot.
Yeah, he should look really good on an 86 shelf. I think he will make that display pop. Just like no one will ever know. If someone walked in who's a really old fan that like grew up on G1, the guy that comes into your room and says, "I used to have that toy," and you're like, "Well, no, you didn't, because it was made 20 years later." I think they would see it and they would just think, "Oh, it's Megatron. He's so cool," So, and if it pulls that off, I think it's accomplished its goal.
And that's how I feel about it. I mean, to be honest, I think it's a great thing that they've done. I was getting a bit sick of seeing all the little leaks where they had a picture of him putting his fist through a box, and then all of a sudden the cannon shows up because he got him like sitting in the chair and he had his hand up like this with the cannon, and then later on they glimpsed his head. Like, come on, just show the whole silly thing. Stop. Nobody cares about teasers.
It's like when a movie teases a teaser, and it's like, you have to do that. You stole the toy, just show it to us.
And what's funny is a lot of those product shots I was looking at, all coming off of eBay. Apparently this person's trying to get $1,400 for this thing. Like, or really, who's giving you that? No one. I really just think they put it up there for clickbait.
Are you talking about for a production sample before it's released?
I'd be surprised.
Yep, on eBay.
Those reviewers, what they pay.
I would imagine someone will do it, yeah.
Yep.
Have fun, guys.
Just so they can have that first hit.
Fight over it. Fight over it.
Hey, I have grails for my collection that are $2,000, $3,000 now, so it doesn't seem that unfair to get a production sample for that price, but I'm not going to do it for sure.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm very, very surprised that Toys R Us didn't get this thing in hand before everybody else, because he actually had pre-production samples of all the Aerobots that were being released that have not been shown yet. He had pretty much all of Devastator, and he also had Star Convoy. So he's actually had pre-production. These were okayed by Hasbro. Hey, check it out, show it off, send it back. He couldn't keep them, but he did actually legitly get them instead of, I don't know, 5-figure discount.
So, 86 used the Earthrise mold for the Seekers, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Because that's
I wonder if
that's the,
I wonder if they'll ever redo those.
there are pictures of like, um, there's a new Starscream coming out, but I don't think it's 86. It's something else. Can't remember exactly where that one actually comes from. I might have to actually do a little bit of research here on that. But there is a new Starscream that is coming out, which inevitably it'll be repainted till cows come home.
Yeah. Except for, Skywarp will be an exclusive.
Yeah.
It'll be hard to get. But Skywarp always is now.
Which is silly. Why don't they just do a 3-pack and just be done with it? Doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I know why they don't do a 3-pack because it forces people,
Okay,
forces people to spend too much money, but
it's the Transformers 1. Is what it is.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, the 86 mold is going to be probably the definitive one for quite some time, I would say.
I think the only way that you're going to get a 3-pack is a store exclusive because of the price points for the individuals for the case assortment. But then any of the multi-packs, I've only seen at like Target. They're exclusive.
That'd be wild if we got like a 6-pack where you had like all 6 Seekers at once. That'd be kind of cool. I don't think they've ever done anything like that though. It's always been like the 1 3 or the other 3.
problem is it'd be like $400.
Right.
Somebody would give that. I mean, there's a lot of collectors who would give that for getting all 6 Seekers.
That would have to be like a pulse thing. But
I mean, people do it.
I say that at the same time, when you buy, you bought the gifts, Titan Returns, or Combiner Wars Devastator, or Combiner Wars Predaking, or Titan Returns Predaking, that was all, those were large figures in one giant box, so it's definitely doable.
I'm just wondering if they're ever going to, if they, like I was talking about, maybe like a versus pack, if they might end up doing something like that with like Galvatron and Starscream or something like that, would be kind of funny. For the '86 movie.
Well,
maybe make Starscream like a darker color, like he's dying or whatever. Since we've been doing a lot of dying Transformers.
Well, I got the perfect one for that too.
What's that?
I mean, the problem is they've done Galvatron too many times. But you do a 2-pack with Megatron and Galvatron, with Megatron all damaged and everything. There's your perfect 2-pack right there. Makes perfect sense.
What about What about the reformatting animation?
The scan line one.
Get that one?
The only time I remember us getting that was in the little PVCs.
Yeah.
No, we got
I thought Super 7 did one.
Yeah, they did. Didn't we get an Earthrise? We got an Earthrise Megatron in that scanning. I can't remember entirely.
Might be.
I mean, it'd be kind of cool to have one that's like mid-scan, where it's kind of like half and half.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like if you have a half-scan Megatron and then a half-scan Galvatron, that would be a really wicked pack. Yeah, let me see if I can. Because I'm wanting to say there's at least been one figure with that scanning. Well, they did the red. They did the red.
Yeah, there was the red one. That was official. So, but yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to see this new Megatron done in maybe that scan line style. Do you think? Okay, here's a really good one. Do you guys think they're going to do the cell animation ones like they did with the previous versions that they put out a few years ago? I think with was the Siege molds. Do you think they're going to do cell animation?
There's always a good possibility. I feel like those always come down to if the if a store wants an exclusive, right? And I don't remember if I mean those were for the Cell Animation ones were Target exclusives, I think. They were exclusive for somebody. And I'm trying to remember if they ended up being like big shelf formers.
I can't remember offhand.
Yeah, I can't either. Like, it's too long ago, and I'm getting old.
So, Brett, I got a question. Do you think they're going to end up doing the brown-handled Megatron from this mold? Is he even there?
He went mute for a second. So, maybe I'll take back what I said earlier, because they did take SS86 Grimlock and release him in the main line as G2 Grimlock, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they will. They might always do him up in different colors. Now I don't know what it might be. Like maybe it will be a Browning repaint or something like that, right? Or I still would be very surprised if they did it as a G2 Megatron, but
Like for a what? What was the last one?
for if they took this Megatron and made it and repainted it in the main line like they did Grimlock as G2 Grimlock in the main line.
They
Well, I
recolored
guess-
him twice at least.
I could see them doing like the E-Hobby all in black and brown sides.
Yeah, the
Okay,
brown-handled one.
Yeah, that would work in tank mode.
But then they did do Earthrise Megatron in G2 colors, so
I could see them, honestly, I could see them doing G2 colors 100% because they've already done it with Grimlock, I think. And it would make for a really, really goofy looking Megatron.
Do you think
However,
we might get safety Megatron from this?
No. No.
I wish Safety Megatron happened.
Oh.
I wish I had a Safety Megatron.
But
It
I can
was
tell
the
you
most-
this much. Think
It
about
was the
this.
most amazing thing ever.
For a G2 to work, all right, the only thing you would really have to do to sell it is to change the fusion cannon. You don't have to include that barrel that goes on his back because he didn't have one.
Mm-hmm.
You redo the fusion cannon to look more like the G2 toy.
It's
You
good.
paint him in the green and purple, and I'm telling you, it would look close enough. The legs
Yeah.
wouldn't be quite right, but it would look close enough.
Especially now that I'm looking, the G2, they did the core class G2 Megatron,
Mm-hmm.
which is very much a G1 looking Megatron. And then they did the Earthrise G2 Megatron out of that mold, which is a very much another G1 looking Megatron. So yeah, I would think there's a high probability with that green and purple tank.
I don't see why they wouldn't. And then if they really
Yeah.
wanted to, and they really wanted to sell it, they could do the combat purple and black.
And then the Tiger Stripe, and then
They could do the unproduced tiger stripe. I
Yeah.
mean, there's just
I mean, there's
Yeah.
at least 3 or 4 right there that they're gonna bang out of this mold easily. But yeah, I don't know how safety Megatron would work with this. I mean, the robot mode would work easily.
I just think it's too obscure. It's just too obscure.
Yeah. If you guys aren't familiar with safety Megatron, this is him.
I mean, we say it's too obscure, but then at the same time, Target had several of the Halloween HorrorCon
That's
Beast
true.
Wars figures in their exclusive sets. So
That's true.
It's hard to say anything is too obscure because every now and then we get some wildly obscure repaints.
It's very true.
Yeah, but I also think that in that particular instance, they were grasping for repaints.
Yeah.
You
Hey,
know,
I was very happy.
many of them.
I was upset that they didn't do the other two. I mean, it would be hard to do Soundwave because, mutant
First,
transformer, but
you have to have the figure.
yeah. But we never got we never got the black Arachnia in the her Halloween HorrorCon colors. We ended up getting her in her toy colors.
Wasn't his name Howler?
Which one?
The Soundwave, the bat repaint in all blue.
I can't remember exactly what his name was.
He had a different name, I thought.
You're not talking about the one that was homage to the unreleased Optimus Primal that was a bat, are you?
No.
Okay, because it was the Mind Wipe remold. Or recolor, I should say.
Leatherhide apparently was its name.
That's it, Leatherhide. But there was a name for one of the other ones too. They all had nicknames.
Night Prowler was the Cheetor repaint.
That's it, Night Prowler.
And then Waspinator was just Waspinator, and Black Arachnia was just Black Arachnia. And it's I'm personally sad that we never got the Black Arachnia because it was like a hot orange with silver legs, and black carapace. It was a cool looking figure, and I would have liked to get that. I do like that we got the toy version of her with like the toy head.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have seen the Halloween HorrorCon too, to at least get as close to rounding them out as possible. Leatherhide was never going to happen.
Well, I always thought that had the Universe line lasted longer, a lot of those would have made them in. Because they were really looking for those just crazy color. This is a different, line to where we have the same technically figures, but, these crazy and those would have fit in perfect.
I miss the days of crazy repaints so bad. Like, I know a lot of people see that as the dark days, like the dark ages of Transformers, but I have such a love for my shelf of universe figures that are just wacky colors, my purple Silverbolt and stuff like that. And, like, to me, that is my Beast Wars G2. And I just love looking at those shelves. Like, I love my Beast Wars shelves, but looking at those wacky repaints all on the shelves together, I'm like, these are just so wacky and so much fun.
Didn't they repaint Skybite in that too? Did they repaint Skybite in that line? I thought they did.
No.
Because
that would have
RID was out at the time, but I didn't know if they went ahead and used his mold too.
No, I don't. I don't think there is a repaint of him. Not to my knowledge. So, off the top of my head, but
the thing that kills me is everyone, like you said, that there's people that are not fans of the Universe line and everything. Look how much they go for right now.
Yeah.
The Universe stuff is just crazy price. And you're like, really? That stuff that no one wanted? There you go. That's why.
I mean, an obscure character that decided to call King Atlas is basically... It was the third release of that Skyquake mold that, it was an amazing mold. Probably one of the coolest redecos, I think, because all the, charred bits on him, I thought that thing was really gnarly. But, it's a homage to Atlas, which nobody would have understood who the heck Atlas was unless they really dug into stuff. And then we're talking early 2000s, YouTube really wasn't a thing. None of that really was at that time.
If you look at the Universe line, in my opinion, one of the best ones they did his depth charge.
He is really cool. There are a few things they kind of.
The only thing I don't like is that the white is too white. Because he's got all these grays and dark blue or greens and all that, and then
I got some complaints, but like they removed
simple.
the pins from certain parts and just made them friction joints, which makes his parts pop off more.
Right.
And they made his discs have the really fat edges, which I think actually made them not all fit into his chest.
Right.
But other than that, yeah, it's really cool colors.
Oh yeah, especially in the Manta mode, he looks amazing.
Yeah, him and Murder Nemesis Prime, the origin of the Nemesis Prime name.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
With his blood red murder tusks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I am. This is like I've been looking at Megatron toys this entire time, and I cannot find a transforming, like, scanning Megatron. I think it's all been limited to non-transforming figures.
I mean, I think it would be interesting to see that done, but I don't know how hard it would be considering, I mean, last week when Brett and I was here, Dan popped in and he talked to us a little bit about like how like the way plastics and stuff like that are mixed and everything for translucent plastic. And I'm not really sure if that would even really work. But I mean, you wouldn't actually have to even do it in translucent. You can just paint it in purple, which would be fine. Just that lavender purple, like half and half. I think it would be really neat. Kind of like
I think they should repaint him in classics Megatron colors. Just make him lime green, purple, and gray.
Well, I mean, the only toys I can think of that had any kind of scanning was the movie toys. Do you remember any of the ones? I think they were during Dark of the Moon. I think it was the Allspark ones.
They had the something tech.
Yeah.
I remember
yeah,
those.
Maybe I'm remembering those and thinking that they had done it with Megatron, but I think with G1 Megatron, it's always been non-transforming figures. Like Red, they did it with Red. I know they did it with Red and Super 7, and I think they had one back with the old Robot Heroes or whatever it was called. So.
Yeah.
I think that would be a pretty interesting thing if they did that with this mold. I mean, just make it a Pulse exclusive. You don't even have to make it like something you buy on the shelves. Like, people will buy it if it's, you know, an exclusive.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it often seems like Hasbro is afraid of doing exclusives that they up cost to make up for the extra, paint applications and stuff like that. Takara does it all the time. For some reason, Hasbro doesn't see the value in doing that. And it might be something, that we can never discount what Takara might do with any of these molds. Takara took every single Kingdom release and made a 2-pack in Beast Wars toy colors, right? So you never know where they're going to go with their stuff, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure.
Well, maybe Takara might do like I don't know, as much as some of us don't like vac metal. Do you think maybe they'll try to do another vac metal Megatron from this? What do you think?
I don't know.
I don't know. Honestly, it's going to be a price point. It's going to be the cost versus what they think they can sell it for. And I know that's me copping out, but that's kind of the way it is. I mean, you come up with a good idea and everything, and I don't know, you pick something. This particular figure has missile launchers, a shield, a sword, and a weapon. But price point, you can pick two and put it in there, even though it might make sense. No, and that's kind of why when you look at the HasLab stuff, you know, we got like a MicroMaster set, and that's like, what's that got to do with the character? Nothing. Price point. They had to get those tiers in, stuff like that. So it's all price point.
I do know some people were pretty happy to get the rest of those MicroMasters, but I honestly think they should have just, with MicroMasters, they should have, like, I don't know, the ones that turned into the bases all should have came with, like, a MicroMaster partner, I think. That would have really sold those weaponizers more, I think. And gotten rid of that silly mode where you combine the two together for a bigger gun. That's stupid. Like, they could have got rid of that engineering and just made them a little bit better. That would have really, I think, sold the those tiny little MicroMasters better, personally. For more articulation, I should say. But I mean, I don't know. I'm biased. I love MicroMasters, but that's, that's just my thing.
I get it. I just don't see why. Like I said, one thing didn't have to do with the other. So, but it's all about hitting those tiers. I don't know. I don't know. Was there a big outcry that people wanted that last set to complete it? I don't know. I wasn't in that. So.
Well, as far as I know, there were a lot of people who were pretty upset that they didn't continue with them because they wanted a lot of the combining ones that didn't come out. There's a lot of repaints that they didn't even get, that they could have done, but they didn't even do. I mean, it did warrant enough for that one special pack to come out that had the space shuttle and then, the one that turned into like the rocket base that kind of looked as a version of Countdown, but not really. It was kind of interesting what they did with that. So, I mean, there was at least enough of an interest there, but I don't know. I personally think when it comes to Hasbro's decisions on a lot of their designs and stuff like that, they have to make the money back, but they also have to play it safe with what they're making.
Got to make that money.
Yeah.
Well,
and
what's the safest that you can do? You promise people to buy it.
Yeah.
Before you make it.
Well, that's the thing, and that's one of the biggest issues with that last HasLab. And I personally think that last HasLab is really kind of, all I gotta say is Liokaiser has to be 100% perfect. There better not be any problems whatsoever with it. Otherwise, they might as well just stick HasLab in the guillotine and be done with it, because that'll be the end of it.
I don't know about that.
Well, there's a lot of people that are very upset about it, and since Hasbro took so long to actually respond, because they really haven't really had a huge response. The only thing they've come out and said is, oh, well, when this whole situation happened, they couldn't talk to the engineers in Japan because they were out on vacation at that time. That's their, like, extended weekend or whatever it was. So whenever all this got released, they weren't even able to communicate with them. So that's the whole defense that Hasbro's put up for. And to me, it's like, if you're willing to put the money into something, let's just hope it's good. Because if it's not, that's just bad. Like, nobody wants to put money into something that isn't going to be a good product. And if they, like, I think we talked about it before, where, Hasbro probably told them to tighten up that joint a little bit because it was probably a little loose, and they overcompensated too much and it caused the problem. But they weren't able to backtrack. And the fact that he was released earlier than when he was expected to come out is also a problem. So that I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of like they just jumped the gun and said go ahead instead of like doing one more good once over of sending another fixed prototype directly to Hasbro to make sure it's 100% before they said go for it. All they said was fix this and then moved on. Like,
Now,
I
are
just
we
hope
talking?
that-
Are you talking about the RID one?
yes,
Okay.
the Omega
I mean,
Prime.
I've heard a lot about it. I do not own that one.
Yeah.
But it seems to me, it seems like every other one.
Did Don get his? You guys know.
I don't know if he got it. Or not. I know he's getting it, but
He had like 3 on order, I think.
Death Source.
Yeah.
I didn't see any problems with that one. Then the one before that,
Star
Star
Saber.
Saber.
Our Saber seemed had some problems, and
Well, scratches on the chest. So it's like every other one. So if that's the case, Leo Kaiser should be good.
yeah, we'll see if they continue the streak.
So
But I mean, the thing is though, with this HasLab that had come out though, this one here has been the highest like demanded one. It's the one that really brought in the money. They had more orders of Omega Prime than any of the other HasLabs. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why this is hurting them so bad. Because there's now more eyes on something versus, oh, well, I ordered this toy that's highly obscure, but, you know, I'm one of like 700 that gets this, you know what I mean, that didn't have any problem. When it becomes a bigger problem, that's the issue. And it honestly...
Let's see. I mean, the demand might have drove down the quality checks. Like, you know, maybe there were so many orders of them that they needed to ship in waves, and that's kind of why we got a first batch that went out. I hope for all the people who are getting later batches that they get, they at least fix it by changing some tolerances and at least reducing how much they're torquing the screws, because I do think if the screws just simply weren't torqued as much, there would be no breakage, and less figures would break. There still might be a chance for breakage just in the design of it, but I really think that torquing the screws is really kind of what was the big issue. Because when I backed the screws out just a little bit, and it was just a little bit, that whole mechanism moved better.
Yours wasn't broken, was it though? Was it?
Mine has a hairline like crack. It's just it's in one of the silver parts, and it only separates when it's fully extended out to transform into vehicle mode. Then you see the gap, but as soon as I collapse it, and that removes stress from that area, it's basically, you can't tell that it's there. Like, if you look close, you'll see it. And, you know, I said on the episode, it was like, it's enough for me to mostly live with it, because of where it is, and a lot of people have much more obvious cracks. I got lucky, not in that didn't get one that didn't break, but I got a break that hides itself really well. And so long as it doesn't continue to break more, my figure will mostly be presentable. And I got a bone white Magnus. I haven't seen the coloration issues to be as widespread of a problem as the Optimus one.
Right. I'm like hoping, because you know how they've been talking about like Motor Master, when it came out, there was issues with some of it turning yellow already. I'm hoping they fix these issues and don't have the same issues with this Megatron that's coming out either, though. Because Megatron's got a lot of gray. There's a lot of gray.
It's not even light colored plastics that are yellowing anymore. Like, what was it? I had someone I was talking to just the other day that had a figure that was purple plastic that was yellow. So it's like it's not even limited to light colored plastics. It's not just white and gray plastics. It seems like it can be almost anything. Like blue plastics. I think there's been some cases of blue plastics yellowing and purple plastics yellowing. It might have been Cyclonus, a recent Cyclonus that was yellowing. But yeah, it's the yellowing does kind of worry me about. It worries me about Ultra Magnus, and then it would definitely worry me with this Megatron. It has a lot of plastic that's sort of in the normal color range of plastics that might yellow. If you get one, I suggest not displaying it near a window at the very least.
Yeah.
But a lot of these seem to be yellowing even when they're never even close to sunlight. So.
I mean, my question is, has anybody's 86 Prime shown any signs of yellowing, considering there's a lot of white on him and the blue? Because I haven't heard of anybody actually having any issues with that. The only issue I heard of with him was the incorrect pin being put in, well, on his feet, being backward. That's the only issue I ever really heard of.
If I had a dollar for every time I had a transformer with backward feet, I would have like $3, which isn't a whole lot of money. But that it happened 3 times is kind of a lot. Heck, I have the Unite Warriors Baldius, and my Rotor has two left arms. I don't know how it happened, but
yeah, Bots and Thoughts and Other Ramblings has stated that whenever he got his Optimus from his Optimal, or from the RID,
Megatron.
yeah, he said that actually had an issue where he couldn't actually move the joint. Nothing was broken, so he went ahead and performed the fix. I did recently hear TJ Omega put a video out talking about this whole fix situation. He's like, well, he himself isn't going to do anything to his, but I can understand why, because he's like, well, if they're going to expect you to send the toy back to actually get it fixed, or sent to a place to get it fixed, then you can be kind of out of luck if you've already performed the fix.
Yeah, potentially.
But
sure.
to be honest, financially wise, I can either see them sending out a part with some instructions showing you how to fix it, with probably a little gift card or whatever saying, oh, we're sorry about the inconvenience, this, that, and the other, to kind of lessen the blow, which is probably...
I'd be really surprised.
That would probably be the biggest thing I could see them possibly doing, because that was one of the things he had talked about, and I kind of agree with him on that one. Like, it's just better just to send out the replacement parts with a little instruction manual. This is how you fix it, and here's a little gift
it's hard to say,
X amount off pulse or whatever for the inconvenience or whatever, and to make it.
I really just can't see. I can't see Hasbro encouraging people to open their figures up, and that's why I don't think they'll mail a piece out. I think it would be a bigger financial hit for them, but I think they would go with send it back to us to be fixed or replaced before they did that. If we were talking about a more acknowledged collector-centric line, I could see that being something that they would do, where they assume everyone who bought it, even though they probably could safely assume everyone who bought it was probably an adult. Because Hasbro doesn't really like to acknowledge Transformers as an adult collector brand at this point, I don't see them going through with sending a part and encouraging you to open your figure up. But if they do some sort of fixed program in the future, it's probably would be if you wanted to get it officially fixed, it would be probably much safer not to perform the fix.
Well,
I know the
them-
DNA kits, I think, is coming out with a piece
They
that you can.
teased something about
Yeah.
that.
I can see them doing it, but as far as Hasbro goes, they've done it in the past. They sent out fixes for Jetfire for the shoulder. Yes, they sent out replacements for Triptychon because something about the springs were too tight,
Yeah, it would literally chew the hips apart.
and people were showing
Oh
how
yeah,
you
I had
cut
to
the-
modify mine.
But no, Hasbro was sending out replacements, so they do that. And they're not looking
Did
at
they? Yeah, I didn't know if they've ever
we're
sent
helping
actual
you to
pieces.
open your toy. We're helping you fix your toy that we screwed up.
Well, I mean,
If there's precedent, then maybe they will consider that. But
the way I can see
I
this.
do remember those two.
Well, think about this.
the
Financially
problem
wise,
is it's broken in so many different places. They'd have to replace like the entire chest of Optimus.
well, the thing is, the chest piece itself is the only part that snaps down the abs. And then you've got the one little gray piece, right? And if you think of this, if they were to try to gate off an entire mold, think about the size of this mold that's got that little piece along with all of everything else that's for the chest piece, what they could do is turn around and cut a whole new mold that's nothing but like maybe 10 or 15 of these little chest pieces and just run those real quick instead of running a whole entire toy to fix the problem. Because think about, they'd have to open up a shop somewhere for people to fix these and then them get mailed back. They're not going to go through that headache. They're not going to go through the headache of, oh, we'll just return it and we'll send you a new one. They're going to probably do what Brett said, is probably send out replacement pieces to fix the issue. Now, what I'm thinking is, it would be nice if they did this. Give the people that ordered a HasLab a gift certificate if there was an issue with theirs. Give them a gift certificate.
That's not how they'll do
with
it. They'll offer a refund, or if they can figure out some way of doing a fix. But also remember the two fixes that I just said that they did.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about small plastic rings and springs. We're not talking molding a whole new waist section and sending those out. I don't see them doing that. I think it's just too complex. It's just like the Star Saber chest piece that was all scratched up. Did they give you a new chest piece? No. They sent you out stickers to cover it up. So it's like, or if you weren't happy with it, send it back and we'll refund your money.
Yeah.
They weren't going to give a whole new chest piece. I seriously doubt they're going to do a whole new waist piece.
Yeah, I would be surprised too, but we'll see. They might, and I'm banking a lot of money on them doing nothing. But maybe refunds, and that's about it.
To be honest, silence is probably going to be the worst thing they can do.
But that's usually what they do. If they can't figure out a problem, they're not going to make a mass release on it, or a statement on it. Because like Jetfire, they never did a mass release on it, and I don't even think on Triptychon, but there was enough people that it got out that you could do that.
Yeah.
But I don't think they just gave a release saying we're going to send these pieces to all, anyone that responds saying that they have an issue, because everyone's going to respond.
I mean, to be honest, I don't even think, and this is just my opinion, that they probably should not announce another HasLab until after Lyle Kaiser is out and in people's hands and everybody's happy. That's probably the only way they should announce another HasLab. Otherwise,
It would be
very, very. They're gonna be very scared to even put that kind of money towards something, especially after this fiasco.
Potentially. I mean, I still think because like if we go to eBay, how much is Omega Prime selling for? I imagine it's probably still selling for more than.
I think it's like three something. But the last time I saw one, may have been closer to 4.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. A lot of reason people risk it on these things is because they usually can sell it because there's usually someone that has enough FOMO to buy it for more than what you bought it for. I think Omega Prime is an example of a because it did hit a bigger audience, I think, than most of the Transformers HasLabs, that it does have more eyes, but I think it has more eyes on people who probably are unlikely to back the normal HasLab. Right? Like a lot of that didn't transfer over to Lio Kaiser, right?
Well, I mean, the RID fandom is probably going to be a lot. Well, probably I should say they are more or less not going to be the same fandom that's going to be after Lio Kaiser.
And there's probably some crossover in
there's
Japanese
crossover, but
Japanese collectors. Yeah,
I don't see it being a huge thing because I mean it's usually older collectors are going to be the ones that are going to be after the Lio Kaiser. They're the ones that backed like Star Saber and Death Stars, you know.
Yeah, that's the same audience there for me.
But the thing is, after this RID one, who's to say the next HasLab isn't a Beast Wars one? You know, or maybe another Energon, or maybe like a Unicron trilogy.
Here's my thoughts. Okay, if you look at the numbers, and I can't find the Victory Leo, how many that they made, but Death Stars was about 22,000. RID Prime was 27,000. So here's my thoughts. Did the 22,000 people buy the RID? May have, but because it was RID, now you get all those RID fans, and that accounts for another 5,000. And then you go, okay, that may make sense. Well, let's go back and look at the 22,000, just the originals. Okay, are they buying multiples to flip, or are they buying them from themselves? And I bet you're going to find it was multiples to flip, because I saw, especially Death Stars, dude, that thing was everywhere on the internet. Everyone and their mother was trying to sell one. You know, so that's just my thought. There's always that. Oh, this is really popular. Is it really popular, or did people think it was profitable, or is it a combination? You know.
I think it really just depends on the character.
Hasbro's not going to care. They don't care why you're buying it. They don't give a crap.
No.
But for you thinking about for an investment, or for thinking about backing something based upon how many backers were on the last one, I think that's a bad move. I don't think that's how you should do it. We've always said this before. Collect what you like, okay? And I personally think that there's enough Beast Wars fans that if we definitely had a HasLab Beast Wars figure, that I think it would do quite well.
So, Sideburn, which Beast Wars figure would you want?
I said it before. I want Magnaboss.
Yeah, I can see that probably being a HasLab thing because it's not mainstream enough, but not obscure.
I want a Magnaboss that scales with Magnetron.
Mm-hmm.
At that sort of commander class. And I think that would, and it painted up in the, I want it to be Lio Jr., Skywarp, and Stanton, and not Prowl, Silverbolt, and Ironhide. I want it to be the Beast Wars, the Beast Wars second Magnaboss, but that's the one I want. I think that would be the best. That would be the best character, and the only way that character would be made. I don't think I was honestly shocked that Magmatron.
Yep, I was gonna say
ever got made. Like that was kind of out a wild, and now they did that.
Well, two things. One, you took what I was gonna say. Magnaboss would definitely be the one I would pick. It's the easiest one as far as what people want, you think they want, and we're never going to get. Having said that, I would be offended if they made that HasLab when we had Magmatron on the shelf and it sold very well. So I don't remember how much Magmatron was that, like 55 or 65, something like that.
Something like that.
I don't want to pay $300 for another similar, I don't want to pay that much more for Magnaboss when I know I could get it in the stores. I should be able to get it for 55, 60 bucks. And then you can say, well, let's do all those tiers. Okay, well, give me a bunch of crap I don't want. Just like that Leo Kaiser. They got that, what's it called? Death, whatever it is. I don't even want it.
Death Cobra?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's stupid.
What is
technically it's the 8th member.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Or sorry,
what
6th
was
member.
the...
Look at G1 and look at King Poseidon and look at Piranacon. What was the difference? 5 members versus 6. No one cared. No one cared.
Yeah, I got my God Neptune from that.
Yeah.
I admit, God Neptune is probably one of the best repaints of that, next to the Collector's Club one.
God, I haven't seen that. It's been in storage for 2 years. I hope it hasn't yellowed. That would be so disappointing.
I don't know if that thing's actually... I don't ever remember seeing it ever yellowed because it has such a pearl look to it.
I haven't seen anyone ever say that theirs is yellowed, but it's just we were talking about yellowing earlier, and I'm like, that's a pearl white, an entirely pearl white figure. But
I mean, I personally think it's like fantastic.
I feel like a lot of the yellowing has been sort of a more recent, seemed to have really started big in the War for Cybertron line and stuff. But yeah, I agree with you there, Magnus. It would I don't want to have to pay that much for Magnaboss, but I just don't think they'll ever do it.
I get it, but I didn't think they would do Death Stars either.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But who knows?
I mean, to be honest, with all the Beast Wars second stuff, I'm very surprised they haven't done Gigatron from Triptychon yet. That's really, surprised me, because it's a simple repaint and just remold the horn, which is just a translucent orange.
I'm surprised they haven't done Gigatron. I'm surprised they haven't done Brave Maximus.
I mean, they kind of have when they gave you the little tiny Cerebros, but I don't think they're going to do a Brave. I don't think that Fort Max mold was very well received in the first place. Why they reissued it, I have no idea. I don't understand that. Somebody please explain that to me. Why they reissued something nobody really liked anyway.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's a bad figure. I mean, it's not amazing. It's better than Metroplex. But I'm as a RID fan, am being particularly shameless and wanting it, even though I don't think it'll do amazing, right? It's not. I don't think it would sell like gangbusters, but I want it because I want it to go on my shelf because there's no way in hell I'm gonna track down an original Brave Maximus. And the great thing about 2001 RID is because it was such a hodgepodge line anyways, you can add anything to it and it still looks cohesive because nothing was cohesive about it.
It's very true. Brad, you starting to fall asleep there, buddy?
Tired. Think I'm about ready to go. Good night.
Work's kicking his butt, guys.
5 o'clock comes early.
No, I'm
Actually,
sure it does.
4:45 comes early.
Ugh. Ugh.
Yep.
I sadly remember days like that. Yeah, I do. They weren't fun. Couldn't function. Put it that way. Okay, well, I think we've rambled on long enough about toys and bots and stuff like that for this week. Not really sure what we're going to come up with next week. So, if any of those folks that are watching have any ideas, pop them in the chat and such, and we may take a gander at that. I'm sure we'll come up with something. We always do, but you know.
And we didn't know we were talking about Megatron until
Yeah.
yesterday.
But I mean, this literally just dumped on us this morning. So
Yeah.
what do you expect?
Remind everyone that we're at 7:30
Yes,
Eastern.
we're at 7:30 Eastern time. So if any of y'all are wanting to tune in, please tune in around 7:30 Eastern. We'll be live then. We kind of changed the time a little bit so we can coordinate with Brett a little better, and Don pops in when he can. But you know,
Don missed
Yep.
today because someone showed up with a puppy, so we forgive him. Puppies are pretty great.
Yep. Puppies are great.
We'll have to ask him about Megatron next time.
I got a coworker at work like that. You'll ask him something, and then a squirrel runs by, and he's gone.
Yep.
He's totally off topic. Can't remember anything. So with Don, it's puppies
It's puppies and cats. I mean,
and cats.
obviously cats, because we miss Matt.
Someone showed up with puppies. You know what? I promise you guys, if a puppy ever shows up, it'll be on the show with us. It's going to be the puppy cast that day.
So you're volunteering to bring a puppy next time, right?
I'm never getting another dog. But if another dog happens, it will be puppy cast.
But you have ducks.
You have ducks. Oh my goodness! If we want to
You have
start
a duckling?
enumerating my animals, like
Do
no.
you have a duckling?
I might have some next year.
Well, then there you go. We'll bring in the ducklings
Um,
next year. That'll be fun.
Yeah. I had a girl that tried to hatch eggs this year, but she was bad at it. But it was her first year doing it, so maybe next year she'll figure it out.
Nature will figure it out. There's always a way. Nature will find a way.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're gonna all jet and get out of here. We're gonna say our goodbyes, and we will catch you guys next week at 7:30, same bat channel, same bat time.
But,
See you guys.
See y'all.